Yo guys, what is up? Max, the first Descendant video, and today we got some pretty freaking massive changes. We got new additions to the battle passes. We've got big weapon buffs, a fair bit of nerfs, and more to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's get right into it. Before we dive into the patch notes, they brought back daily tasks, which went away for like a few days. You can now go and claim more XP boosts and more Kuiper, but the bigger thing is that they're doing a weapon proficiency event for 14 days, where you get 50% weapon proficiency for defeating monsters in infiltration operations, regardless of difficulty. We're going to have to test if this is efficient for leveling your weapons now. Obviously, you would do infiltration operations to level your Descendants, but you wouldn't get anything for weapon experience. Your weapon experience should now be much better in those, so you can level weapons and Descendants doing infiltration operations, which is another fantastic change. So to start us off, they removed certain dungeon penalties that were appearing in invasions. For example, the ones that were making your like weapon bullets cost an extra bullet, so you just blow through your mag twice as fast, has now been removed. And things like when you use a skill, you get minus 50% movement speed. That's been removed. A lot of these were just kind of annoying. I didn't mind the weapon ones because they made me like use different weapons, but obviously not everyone has a like fully built weapon in every category. Next, they buffed HP and MP orbs in boss fights. So now you're going to get more HP from those and more MP, which is pretty nice quality of life. We're just going to be able to sustain more in boss fights. They also lowered the difficulty of Dead Bride in normal and hard mode. This is now seemingly part of a trend where, you know, they nerfed first they nerfed Frostwalker, then they nerfed Pyromancer, then they nerfed Dead Bride, and they also nerfed Hangman here. So, for example, Dead Bride decreased the frequency of teleport while frenzied. They decreased the range of Snowstorm, the Veil consisting of Chill, and reduced the damage, and decreased the part HP of the Amplifier. I think that means her like weapon. It's going to be easier to break to get her out of that like frenzied state. They also lowered the difficulty of normal Hangman, reduced the part HP of the Charger, the object inside of the mouth that attacks while frenzied, so it'll be easier to like knock him out of his frenzied state. They greatly reduced the damage of Thunder Wave, the wave of thunder emitting from the center. They greatly reduced the damage of his laser that he laser fired from the mouth when you failed to destroy the Charger. I think this means it's no longer going to be a wipe, basically, if you fail. They decrease the damage of the Thunderbolt skill that occurs while frenzied, and decrease the duration of the electric cannon, the electric sphere. We'll talk about my opinions on all of these changes afterwards. Let's just get through the patch notes first. They lowered the difficulty of the Deception Transmitter defense mission at the Sterile Lands Rockfall. Knockdown damage will not occur in a row when damaged by traps, so you can no longer get like juggled by traps in dungeons. It happened to me before. It's pretty funny. They made monsters spawn faster in the extermination missions of the hard infiltration operation Echo Swamp Seed Vault, and lowered the required amount of the for the collection mission. The data collection mission of the hard infiltration operation Hagios Old Mystery has been changed to a traversal mission. Interesting thing there. The Invasion Legion of Immortality, the maximum distance for feeding artificial brains to the quantum computing unit, has been increased. Next, they added sniper monsters to the Fortress Defense Line Void Fragment mission to prevent simple macros. I just made a video on this being an incredibly efficient weapon experience farm that might be slightly worse now if you have to kill a sniper, but it sounds like you could just not kill the sniper and reset. I'll have to test that and maybe possibly update our weapon XP video. We will see. It sounds like if you're playing that normal, you won't have any issues, but if you are macroing it, which you should not be doing, you might have more issues, but interesting note there. The escape menu can now be activated during the down but not out state. Interesting change there. That sounds like people are just gonna leave game while they're down. Interesting thing there. They changed the aim assist settings for controllers, which by default were way too strong. They changed the default now to be 50 instead of 80. I think that's a great change. Jumping onto the game for the first time on controller feels terrible. So that's great. They also made some more changes to aim assist. They weakened the pull strength of crosshairs towards the center of enemies, which is a big one. It should be a lot easier to aim for headshots. A lot of times with aim assist on, it just felt like you couldn't hit heads because you constantly, when you zoomed in, you had to pull up. So those are good changes. And then we've got a director's comment saying the dev team is aware of the feedback regarding aim assist and has improved the feature to further enhance the console player experience. Previously, aim assist feature made delicate control difficult as the aim automatically turns towards a nearby monster or focuses on the enemy's torso when you want to attack their weak points. With this improvement, the players with controllers now have more control over their aiming, while new players are giving appropriate assistance. Next, they added a page 13 for the Season 1 Battle Pass with fully built crystallization catalysts and energy activators. This is something we've been asking for. Looks like I'm not loaded into the game right now. But if we go to the last page of the Battle Pass, you can see that we have fully built crystallization catalysts and energy activators. These are massive, especially the energy activators. Energy activators are one of the harder things to acquire in the game and build. Now that I've been playing the game for hundreds of hours, I've accumulated quite a few of them, but that's a really awesome reward to have as part of the Battle Pass. And another thing to note, correct me if I'm wrong, oh, you know what? It looks like they are a paid feature. They don't have the free tag. So it does look like if you want to get these, you do need to own the Battle Pass, but that is adding more value into the paid version of the Battle Pass, which I've honestly been buying every season anyways. Originally, I thought the Battle Pass was not worth the money. I've now changed my mind on that, mainly because if you add up the amount of weapon experience and like buffs that they give you from gold, Kuiper, weapon XP, and weapon and Descendant experience, if you were to purchase all of those boosts, it is like 300 caliber worth, and the Battle Pass gives you back 300 caliber. So you're getting 600 caliber worth for 500, plus now you're getting an energy activator and a crystallization catalyst. So now the Battle Pass seems even more worth, even though I thought it was worth before, but this is a great change. They said to meet the community's expectation for further improving the value of the Battle Pass rewards, we temporarily added page 13 for the Season 1 Battle Pass while providing crystallization catalysts and energy activators as the rewards. Even if you've already reached season level 96, you can still receive the additional rewards on page 13. The dev team is working hard to incorporate feedback from the community to further improve the game and provide more value to players. Based on the feedback we received during the preseason, we've improved the Season 1 Battle Pass to make it easier to achieve weekly and seasonal missions. We appreciate your continued interest in the Season 1 Battle Pass, along with the Battle Supply Shop, where you can receive free rewards. Next up, we get into some ultimate weapons. They improved the base performance and unique ability of the ultimate weapon Wave of Light Scout Rifle. They decreased the recoil of Solar Halo while increasing the firearm critical hit rate and increase the duration of the effect depending on the enhancement level. Hitting an enemy while Solar Halo is active now creates dusk, inflicting Lunar Halo to enemies within the range. Firearm attack increases on hitting enemies inflicted with Lunar Halo. Those are all big changes, and big changes they are. Now, if we go into the Wave of Light, we can see that its critical hit rate buff that it would get for like 1 second has been changed from, I think it was like 40% at base, and then you could like rank it up and get higher, to now just a fixed 100% critical hit rate, meaning that what you're going to want to build this thing, and I'll probably have a build guide out for all of these recently buffed weapons, but you'd build it for like as much reload speed as possible, no mag size, and you just want to get to this buff as fast as possible, and then you could go for all damage things because you're not going to need like critical hit rate stuff, because you will just have 100% critical hit rate during its buff. So you want to get to that buff as fast as possible. And now when you're hitting enemies that you hit with your like Twilight phase, you're going to get another 10% increased damage. So the Wave of Light is definitely looking a lot more enticing. One of the things that was bad about the Wave of Light is its weapon crit buff was not affected by other crit hit increases, meaning if you were using like Haley, for example, you would have more critical hit rate outside of your buff than inside your buff, because your buff would set you to a fixed like 40% and you couldn't go any higher. Now with it being a fixed 100%, the weapon's a lot more interesting and could be used on a lot more Descendants. So really cool change there. Next, they improved the base performance and unique ability of the ultimate weapon Kingsguard Lance. They increased the base fire rate while decreasing the base time it takes to charge. You can now place up to 3 Guardian Lances, and the Lances automatically attack enemies within the damage range when placed. The damage interval of the Guardian Lance is now affected by the fire rate of the Kingsguard lance. They increase the duration of the Guardian lance depending on the enhancement level, and they increase the duration increase upon hit and damage range of the Guardian lance, with the maximum possible increases in range being limited. These are all pretty fantastic changes. I just shot the Kingsguard lance, by the way, before like starting this recording, which I haven't really invested into, but this thing has some serious potential now. Like, this is gonna get real interesting. We have a potentially another good mobbing weapon. Obviously, I'm gonna have to invest into this and test it more, but like, it's looking really promising now. The amount of damage ticks that it's doing and the amount of times that it's hitting, and now the range that you can easily cover. And once again, this is like a 0 out of 4 Kingsguard lance. Very, very, very interesting. I'm gonna have to mess around with that. By the way, I'll be live all day on stream testing all of these things at twitch.tv/Moxie if you want to come hang out and see what these things are doing. Next, we get buffs to the ultimate weapon, the Executor. They improved the base performance and unique ability. They improved the accuracy of its hipfire and aim shot accuracy. When the Executor's exaltation effect is active, failing to hit all fired bullets will no longer decrease the amount of stacks. They decreased the maximum stacks of the Executor's exaltation effect, and firing the gun at maximum stacks will no longer disable the ability. They increased the accuracy and firearm critical hit rate based on the adjusted maximum stacks of the exaltation effect, and firearm critical hit damage and fire rate are now increased as well. And the exaltation effect at maximum stacks now increases weak point damage instead of firearm attack, and firearm attack is no longer increased when hitting enemies inflicted with electrocution. Holy shit. They gave it 21% firearm critical hit rate with 21% firearm critical hit rate per stack, and 18% firearm critical hit damage with another 18% per stack, and 20% increased weak point damage. God dang. Okay, let's see. Before, this thing was like 2% critical hit rate, and it was a percentage increase of its base, so you couldn't actually get it to do any crit damage. Right now, mine is at 1.5. When I would do the full Executor exaltation buffing, I could get it to about 2%, because all of the things were percentage increases of its base and not flat. They might still be that, but let's just see. Let's make this guy immune. Let's just see what we can get its crit to. Oh god, that's looking pretty good. Oh my god, it is at 100% critical hit rate. Okay, well, we have a contender. That genuinely might be one of the best DPS weapons now. It's already got a like 151k base DPS, which is one of the highest in the game, if not the highest in the game. It's pretty up there. And you couldn't build it before. You see my crit mods on here. I was testing it like a while ago for our tier list, and like legit, you couldn't get it to get like above like 4% critical hit rate. Now without a crit Descendant, it's getting to like basically 100% crit hit rate. This is going to be absolutely amazing. Okay, very cool. Next, they improved the base performance and unique ability of the ultimate weapon, Peacemaker. The single reload for Peace effect is now also granted when using fusion skills, so you can use this on fusion and dimension descendants. The skill cost of the single reload for Peace effect now decreases depending on the enhancement level. That was a big downside to the Peacemaker, is it would make your skills cost 30% more, which was really tough to deal with, honestly, on a lot of characters. It now makes your skill cost 0. They've removed it entirely. So now, using this thing, you're just going to be stacking up damage for your skills, and you have no downsides. There's no downsides to holding this thing. You just get stacking damage for your abilities if you're a non-attribute Descendant. This now just became the best in slot weapon to hold for Valby and Glay. And possibly some other characters. That is kind of insane. Obviously, Peacemaker's very hard to acquire, but it should be a good weapon. It literally drops from the hardest boss in the game. So good changes there. Next, they improved the base performance and unique ability of the Excava. They decreased the maximum stacks of voltage charge depending on the enhancement level in order to grant grenade energy more quickly. They increased the additional damage for shooting while aiming when the energy grenade effect is active, depending on the enhancement level. They increased the projectile size of the energy grenade and increased the electrical defense or resistant decrease of the voltage accumulation effect, depending on the enhancement level. If we actually go and look at the Excava, you now only need 15 stacks to get a grenade charge, which is fantastic. That's down from 28 on a maxed ranked Excava. So way less shots to get a grenade, and your grenade's going to deal more damage. It went from a 180% to a 220%. So that's now a grenade is now more damage than a shot, or more damage than 2 shots. Before it was less damage than 2 shots. So definitely an improvement. Still would have liked to see this number higher, but they also buffed the voltage accumulation. So now if you're shooting at full stacks of your grenades, you're going to get a much larger electrical defense down. I think the Excava should be a fair bit better. I still don't know if it's going to be a meta weapon. I'm going to still have to mess around with it more, but definitely big improvements to a weapon that really needed improvement. Next, they made changes to the filters. I was pretty disappointed in the filters. I know that they improved them, but their actual uses were pretty difficult. They've now added the option, which they absolutely needed to add, is the option to exclude if 2 or more included, or exclude if only 1 is included. Basically, you could set your parameters in your junk filter, and if you wanted one thing and wanted another thing and wanted another thing, you couldn't really sort for god rolls where you'd get 2 of those things. Now you can actually sort for like god rolls where you're only looking for like crit damage Colossus or like damage boost ratio, damage to Colossus. You can actually sort for those with the filters. I will point out that your filters will have totally reset. So when you boot up the game, make sure that you go into your junk filter and apply your options. If you guys would like to see like an in-depth guide on how I set up my filters, let me know. Not really something I can fit into this video, but they have basically improved a bunch of functions. Filter as junk function now has been retooled to bulk exclude junk filter. Now it functions by specifying conditions for which ones to not designate as junk. Option filter now allows you to choose whether the items are excluded if they meet only one specified condition, more than 2. With this change, the current settings for filter all junk will be reset, so please make sure to exclude from junk settings before you dismantle items. Bunch of like changes to those. They made improvements so that players can move between inventory and map more easily. Pressing the M button in the inventory menu allows you to enter the map screen. Great change there. Pressing the inventory button in a map menu allows you to enter the inventory screen. So now if you like click the wrong button, you could just click I or M or whatever the controller things are for that to swap rather than having to leave and come back in. You can now bind hotkeys for the library, consumables, journal, social pass, battle pass, and shop menus, in-game options. If you want to have a key just to immediately open them. You can now immediately choose a selectable reward before you begin hard infiltration operations. That's very nice. The weapon list in Customize now displays the status of skins for each weapon. At the library, the items obtained from research are also displayed in the acquisition info. You can also check tooltips, and the change firing mode in the gameplay settings is now enabled by default. Very good. Next, we get changes to ultimate weapons and Descendants. They fixed an issue where the Ajax barrier effect would remain if it was destroyed at the time of creation. They fixed Haley's Zenith skill, which is now affected by movement speed of her current weapon rather than her unique weapon. This allows Arc Pacemaker effect of the inversion reinforcement to properly be applied. Arc Pacemaker was giving you skill cost reduction if you had slow movement speed. Your movement speed was being set to 0 in Zenith, so you couldn't get that buff to actually work. Now it should work, and it's definitely a pickup for Haley now. If the max HP of an ally healed by Eugen is less than 1, the amount of recovery is now calculated based on the target's max energy shield. I don't really know what that means. I don't think that means that Eugen can heal shields, but maybe. Interesting change there. Let me know what you guys think of that. Then they fixed an issue where the Kingsguard Lance blocked enemy projectiles. And lastly, they've got some miscellaneous changes where if you collected the Ironheart Particles quest and not being completed, it will now be automatically completed upon re-login and should be working. Guys, that's going to do it for the patch notes. A lot of incredible changes. I'm honestly probably as excited to jump in and test these new weapons as I was to jump into season 1. I love that they're genuinely buffing some weapons. They had an interview where they said that they were looking into like bringing weapons and giving them their time in the sun, and it seems like we were getting the first rollout of that. So I love that. And obviously there's still a lot of weapons that need to be buffed, but this is a great start and really impactful buffs from my testing so far. Once again, I need to do more of that. The changes and nerfs to the intercept bosses like Deadbride and Hangman, I haven't tested yet, so I don't really have a full opinion on that. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, my opinion is a bit skewed as a more hardcore player. I play this job or this game literally as a full-time job, so I have a ton of time to play, and the like nerfs don't really affect me. I've already killed them very quickly, but I could see them being really helpful to help get new players more deeper into the end game. You know, Hangman is kind of the barrier into hard mode, but I also think that it is important to have challenging content in a game like this. So, you know, I don't really have like a full opinion on that. I definitely need to go test those changes. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch y'all in the next. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, live all day on twitch.tv/Moxie, testing all of these weapon buffs and the changes. I will catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.